Jeremy Lin is with us, an NBA champion and a man that spent some pretty memorable moments with the New York Knicks. We'll talk about that a bit later in the program. Blurry is a good word he used to describe this game. Again, we watched so much of it, and we've got the best laid plans, and I'm going to ask you about the end game. And there's a line that fatigue makes cowards of us all. These guys weren't cowards. They were fighting like champions out there. But fatigue seemed to maybe play a role. Maybe youth plays a role. What did you see in that endgame sequence where really both teams were struggling to execute at all?
Scott, the Spurs have so much heart, 14-0 run to come back into the game, but the last 30 seconds, just so much inexperience. Whether you want to call it youth, whether you want to call it fatigue, it just wasn't it. The first play, another isolation for Wemby with 30 seconds, tough shot over Mitchell Robinson. Then you have a turnover, then you have a foul. I mean, they had the game where you have the ball with 12 seconds left. It's a tie game. There's no way you should be able to ever lose that game. And so to me, if the roles were reversed, the Knicks get the ball. What do? They will immediately find Brunson, and he'll immediately find the mismatch that he wants. But the Spurs, when they get the ball, they're not really sure. So Wemby's dribbling up. Castle's not even looking for it. They don't know who's going to take charge. Is there a timeout to be called or not? It just seemed, as Wemby said, very blurry.
Would you have preferred a timeout in that moment when Wembanyama gets the ball?
I think a timeout would have been perfect, especially given that this is their first time in this situation. I personally would have called a timeout, and I think that was the move to make.
The 14-0 run completely changes the context of this conversation because it appeared we're talking about New York with a stranglehold in the series, which they do enjoy with the victory. But there was so much great basketball that New York played when they took control in the second and third quarters. And there's some examples that I know you want to show that speak to, maybe you could explain what you see that speaks to the connected nature of this New York group.
I mean, I have to start at the top with Mike Brown. What he has done in all facets for this team is amazing. On the offensive side, we can see habits, principles. Here we see three people drive the ball. Brunson, Shamet, and Mikal Bridges, they all drive and re-space. It ends up with so much flow, and Bridges ends up with an open three. Here in the second half, there's a double team. Immediately, Shamet gets right to the short corner to be able to get the ball, and that opens up the cat three-pointer. And so there's just so much connectivity with what they're doing. On the defensive side, they're the #1 defensive team in the playoffs. They're always in the right position. How many Wemby alley-oops in the half court have we seen? Very few, because they're always in the right position, and then they're able to fan out and get lots of steals to get in transition. But the biggest thing about Mike Brown that I love, he's trusting the bench. This is a huge knock for the Knicks. Landry Shamet, veterans minimum, almost out of the league.
He's about to get some veterans stuff.
and he's a difference maker. He's averaging 13 a game in the NBA Finals. But the biggest thing is McBride, Alvarado, Shamet, they're coming in and they're being trusted right off the bat.
Yeah, the thing that we try to take the notes so they're less blurry and get to the things that matter and connected. Mike Brown, these are the things that you noticed. And just the bench minutes in that late third sequence where you've got Cat that got, I thought, a couple of poor foul calls back to back, and now Hart's in foul trouble as well. And the lead went from 4 to 9 based on bench points, and now Bridges had a bunch of buckets as well. But you've played a bunch of different roles. I mean, you've been off the bench or you've started or whatever. When you're shown that level of belief by Mike Brown, how does that elevate what you're able to give your team?
The most obvious way to see their confidence level is to see the role players and how free they're playing. And you can tell McBride is hitting big shots in the fourth quarter. Sham is not even thinking about it, and they're just coming in and they're ripping shots right off the bat. And that just goes in so many people who play for Mike Brown, they talk about him listening, being attentive, being a player's coach. Kat talked about it as well. And that just goes to show that when you are infused with confidence and you aren't looking over your shoulder, you're just playing free and your basketball instincts are coming out. And that's a huge reason why you see the Knicks clicking the way they are.
You're really good at this already for a guy who hasn't done it a lot. I'm not trying to put you in a weird spot, but I don't know, because I don't know if it can be explained. When you're trying to execute at the highest level in the most important moments and you appear to be physically exhausted, how does that impact your ability to execute when clearly both sides at moments in this game were completely toast?
Absolutely. When it comes down to that, it's about your habits. It's almost like muscle memory, where no matter how tired you are, you still do the same things. And again, New York Knicks down the stretch, outside of they had 2 possessions where Bridges was trying to be the primary ball handler and the playmaker, and that was kind of an off thing that was very interesting to me. But other than that, they were still crashing the glass in the right way. Defensively, they were in the right positions. And so when you are just so tired that you can't really think, you kind of just revert to your habits. And that's why they talk about how important it is to have continuity, to have a system, to have culture, because at the end of the day, when it comes down to it, when it comes winning time, it comes down to your habits and your culture.
We grade with a really sharp pencil these days. There's not a lot of grace. The youth of Wembanyama won't be taken as it's all right. He got time to grow. Like Shaq got swept when he was like 25 and got back there later. But that's a shot, if you're Wembanyama, like, you got to make that shot, don't you?
I mean, you absolutely have to make that shot, and he talks about he'll regret it, but he'll use it as fuel. To me, the one thing I will say is I did like that play call, though. It wasn't something where, to me, Wemby is a young player, and he struggles to create advantages in an isolation situation or from a neutral position. I love that they made a play call where Fox can get downhill, hit him on a pop, and at least he got that open shot. But I do think, to your point, 2 years, 3 years down the road, he gets that same shot, it's going down.
Exactly. I mean, this is the first time they've been here. It's a make-miss league. It's a cliche, but it's a truth. If that goes in, you and I are having a completely different conversation. Garden on Monday, we've been talking about it quite a bit with everybody. Asked Kat about it. Stephen A. said it's never been like this before. And I'm like, well, maybe it has. Maybe it has. And you see the excitement of it. Before we get to the stuff that you did that's truly legendary, what's your sense of that building Monday?
I think it's going to be the most insane environment. I genuinely feel like it's going to be something beyond what I felt during this.
Can that be a net negative, though? Can it be the kind of energy that becomes difficult to even harness? Like, how do you ride the lightning is what I'm asking.
Well, I definitely think it could be something that goes against the Knicks where it's almost too much, but the way that they approach each game, the mentality, which is why I love this Knicks team, is the mentality is they're not worried about how many they've won in a row or what the outside noise is or the environment. They are just locked in and they approach each game like it's a new thing. So I don't think it'll affect them, although it could.
All right. Linsanity was a thing. I was doing SportsCenter at the time. Thank you for the content. Let's go back to one game in particular, the late, great Kobe Bryant, you on the floor, and we'll just watch it right here. This three right here led to a moment that you described earlier that I want to hear about.
Yeah, to me, this is the most crazy moment in the Garden that I can remember, where after hitting this shot, I had to look down at my feet to make sure that I wasn't levitating because it felt like I was hovering off the ground a half inch. That's how crazy, that's how loud, that's how big the buzz was during that stretch.
38 against Kobe and the Lakers, right?
Yeah.
That smile is so great. That's you. Like, we can't cuss, but you're like, I did that. You did that. As you sit here now and you think back on it, how do you, like, what was that like to be in the city and to be the guy who was the maestro that had the city in the palm of your hand?
Well, the thing about that people don't talk about is before Linsanity, we were 8-15, tied for 10th, extremely underwhelming. And I kid you not, Scott, every game, every home game, fans would come down in the second half just to cuss at us, to tell us we sucked, to cuss at D'Antoni. They would just do that on their way out, like, you guys suck, and just walk out, right? And then, you know, Jared Jeffries, my teammate at the time, he told me one thing that really stuck with me. He said, Knicks fans love their team. And when we turn this thing around, when you get them on your side, there is nothing like it in the world. And this is all before it happened. And once Linsanity happened and everything after, I understood what he was talking about. When you are able to give the performances that they want and that they deserve, there's nothing like it. There's no home court advantage like it. And honestly, on the road, it almost feels like home court advantage.
Right, but you probably don't levitate on the road as you did there. What a story. I'm told in my ear we got to wrap, which sucks because I would love to keep going. Thanks for sharing some of those memories and great perspective on the games tonight, Jeremy Lin.
Appreciate it, Scott.
Yeah, great to have you here. It's a pleasure to welcome our man Tim Legler back to the program. Tim, you sat down, put the headset on. I said, wow. You said, wow is right. How do you describe what you just witnessed for the last 3 hours of your life?
Man, well, first of all, look, to win a championship, you need an awful lot of heart, and you have to be able to dig deep when the situation requires it. Both of these teams, it's a very physical game.
Yep.
Both teams completely laid it on the line, and I was really impressed with the Spurs' ability to cut into that lead and get it to a situation where you had a winnable game. They just weren't able to make the plays down the stretch, a very costly turnover, which we've talked about. And then Victor Wembanyama, you can't ask for a better look from a guy that size, 18 feet. He leaned back a little bit. I'm not sure why he lost his balance on the landing, but he had a clean look over Mitchell Robinson and an opportunity for your best player to win a game and get you even headed to New York. Not able to make either one of those plays. As a result now, the Knicks are halfway to a title.
I said earlier in the show, the line, Tim, fatigue makes cowards of us all. I don't think either side was cowardly, quite the opposite. But fatigue appeared to have an impact on both execution and maybe decisions. I don't know. How accurate does that sound to you?
No, I think there's absolutely truth in that. And, Scott, you can really see it sitting here, the amount of pressure on these ball handlers, the amount of contact and what everybody was having to play through. Every ball that went up on the rim or the backboard, the amount of contact in the paint, fighting for those rebounds, because the details at that point just so critical. You know, for the Knicks, if you could secure an offensive rebound and burn another 20 seconds of clock, you got a chance to ice the game. For the Spurs, coming up with those defensive boards, limiting them to one shot, gives you a chance to get down the floor and have an opportunity to cut into that lead and eventually win the game. I agree with you. Both teams were gassed by the end of this game, and the Knicks did exactly enough what they had to do to get this win.
Tim, we've watched so many of these games together. You know what I write on these cards, just little bullet points, the questions I want to ask. I've got Mike Brown. I have bench minutes. I have second chance points. I have defense. All of those things, I think if we're starting somewhere, Mike Brown and what he's done for this group deserves the first mention. Where do you start?
I love it. And here's what I'm going to say about Mike Brown. There was a critical stretch toward the end of the third quarter. You had Karl Anthony Towns out of the game with foul trouble. You took Brunson out because it was his normal time to get a blow. He looked really tired at that point. They don't have a lot of other offense generators on their roster. He had bench guys on the floor, and he trusted them to go make plays. Miles McBride with big bucket. Bridges played big during that stretch. And at the end of the third quarter, looked like, you know, they had held on with those guys on the bench. He keeps them in there at the start of the fourth and gets another 3 minutes or so of rest for his top guys. I can't say enough in a game like this how much that means. The trust he put in them, it seemed like every button he pushed was the right one in terms of his rotation.
Buddy, thank God the get-in price isn't going to affect either one of us on Monday. We get to come do work and watch this. I look forward to seeing you in person. Thanks for taking the time tonight. Travel safe, okay?
Absolutely, Scott.